Hello and welcome to NPC that still stands against all odds for next portable console. I'm one of your co-hosts, and the one kissing the camera is Mr. Brendon Bigley. Hello, Brendon.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad you're here too.
Yes, and we're also joined...
We call him a camera kisser.
Hailing from North Carolina,
Yes.
United States of America, is John Voorhees. Hello, John.
Hello. Home of barbecue and other things.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is
kind
it-
of. It's
is it
it's
the
got
home-
a very
what is
special.
it? North Carolina, the home of barbecue? Is that
Yeah,
really?
it's got
Okay.
it's got its very own particular variety of barbecue.
I think people would fight
I
you
like
on
a
that,
lot.
but like I have no claim to that title. I'll
No,
say
not
that
in New York
much.
City. You don't.
Mm.
You
got
have
the
more
pi-
of a
you got
claim
the
to it than
pizza.
I do.
Yeah.
We have a lot of news to cover today. I try to organize our documents into sections. There's something that I'm kind of excited to talk about, which is called the AYANEO Corner. That's going to come later.
Yes.
And also another company, TrimUI, that we're going to talk about today. Lots of exciting news coming.
I'm
But
so
before we
excited
get-
about these. Yeah.
Before we get to that, there's a couple of things that we need to address. John, what is the MagicX Two Dream?
Yes, this is a new
Two Dream?
Two Dream.
Two Dream.
Spelled out, not the number.
Yeah.
MagicX, they do weird stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit more about MagicX
Fair
and NPC XL as well. But the Two Dream is a 4.3 handheld that I guess is a competitor to the AYANEO Pocket Air Mini, which we talked about a little bit last week. So it's it's a 4.5-inch screen. It's 1440 by 1080 pixels, which I'm starting to see more and more of these kind of devices coming out, which I think shows a trend that because RAM is so constrained, these companies are starting to focus on other aspects and
Makes
pushing new features into lower end handhelds. And
Yeah.
1440 is perfect for things like GBA. So I'm really excited about the fact that higher, better specs are filtering down into a lower price tier. They haven't said exactly how much this is going to cost, but there are two versions of it. One's supposed to be under 100 and the other one's going to be a little over 100. And it's expected to be able to handle things like Dreamcast and PSP and maybe a little bit of GameCube as well. And of course the other systems below that. So this one to me is interesting. I'm kind of ready to jump back in to the more budget end of the market and see kind of what's changed in the last year or so.
MagicX feels to me like a company that's kind of straddling the line that Anbernic was maybe 2 years ago.
Yes.
In terms of just getting very, as you're saying, John, creative with the parts that they have access to,
Right.
just making every form factor that any person could possibly like, and getting really out there with it, which I think is really fun. I'm interested in this specifically because one of the things that they have included is a gyroscope, and I'm curious to see how people are going to make use of that specifically for GBA. I think that could... I can't think of another, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I can't think of another GBA-specific handheld that includes gyroscope that will allow you to play things like Pokemon Pinball or WarioWare Twisted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Two models, Lite and Pro. Interesting, they're not going with Lite spelled out Lite, but just Lite, which is funny, a little bit.
That one
funny
has a
to me.
backlight and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, the Lite.
That was a joke, to be clear. That's not true.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
I think I was a little bit too deadpan with that one.
Interesting. We also have some follow up for the Anbernic RG Vita,
Yeah.
and as we expected,
It's not good.
it's not good for PS Vita
Right.
emulation, which is right
It's right,
there.
it's right there in the name, but
It's
it's not
right there.
really
Anbernic
there.
is promoting, just like they did with the RGDS and
You don't
promoting it, showing 3DS games. They are also promoting the RG Vita with videos showing PlayStation Vita games running on it, which it's just misleading people. And here's the thing about this to me that really gets me is the audience that is interested in these kinds of handhelds is too close to the metal. Everybody knows too
They
much
know
about these
yes.
things.
Yep.
So when people see the specs, they're like, this thing can't run Vita. They know the state of Vita emulation. You're not tricking anybody.
No.
You're just upsetting them.
Yeah.
They
it's
have
really
what?
strange.
They have 3 and 4 gigs of RAM. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's not gonna cut it. We're looking at a Mali G52 graphics, a Unisoc T618 processor.
Yeah.
This thing is not gonna run PS Vita emulation at all. Like sometimes you even struggle with PS Vita emulation on a proper Android, Snapdragon architecture, and it's just not gonna happen.
There are
Or
some
it's-
PSP games that won't even run at full
Yeah.
speed on that processor, and with that amount of RAM. Like if you
Right.
wanted to upscale some of them, even past 1x, some of them might have issues.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to think, but I don't think I'm gonna get it at launch. Like my first reaction was, oh, I'm gonna get this immediately because I mean a modern PS Vita. But as more specs and details and some first impressions have come out, not gonna happen. for me.
Especially if it struggles with some PSP. I mean, I could see, as we talked about last week, as Brendon mentioned, is this being a really good PSP machine. But I don't know. I mean, at least what I'm reading is it's struggling with some of those games, especially if you upscale them.
Yeah. The rumored price is going to be for the base model is under $100, which is decent. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And then the pro version will be like just over $100 hypothetically. And I will say, I mean, worth mentioning in NPC XL, I'm going to talk about another Anbernic handheld, the RG DS, which I got, which is also an under $100 handheld that is targeting Nintendo DS and 3DS and has issues with both of them sometimes. I don't know where Anbernic's head is at in terms of making devices right now. Like obviously their hardware is always really great. I mean their buttons are great, their D-pads are great. They're known for building like sturdy, great hardware, but just the like parts selection for the internals is so all over the place just to target prices to keep them competitive with things like TrimUI, which are like blowing them out of the water, I think, in terms of just sentiment.
In better follow-up, especially for people like me who like Android tablets, it looks like there's a 2026 version of the Lenovo Legion Y700 tablet, also known as the Legion Tab in the Western
Legion
market.
Tab. Yeah, they've only put a couple of them out in the United States, and I think like 3 or 4 in China.
Yeah, the Y700 is the name for this product in China. And it looks like the 2026 version will be another really nice performance bump. We're looking at a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 processor with a 9,000 mAh battery and configurations going all the way up to 24 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. Basically, the tablet version of an AYANEO 3 Ultra, kind of,
pretty
with
close.
a really nice display, 8.8 inches, 165 hertz refresh rate, 800 nits of brightness, going up from 600 nits of brightness from before. Very tempting. If you want to, especially, I mean, let's face it, if you want to emulate PC games on Android on the biggest possible sort of single device based on Android with a built-in display that you can get, this will likely be, alongside the AYANEO 3 Ultra, this will be the top of the line for what you can get with Android emulation. The Y700 from China. Eventually, it'll make it to the US and Europe,
Maybe.
I hope.
Not every model has made it here. I mean, the Gen 3 is now about $380 here, which is, for what that is, that's still a really good device. If you're looking to get an Android tablet for gaming right now, it's come down. I think in the early days it was over $500. So
yeah. So I'm kind of looking forward to this one.
yeah,
actually.
I am too.
I'm thinking about it. This is and I really like how with these tablets you can just snap on a controller and you got almost a 9-inch display in front of you. And also Lenovo calibrates those IPS displays really well. So
and it's not 3 pounds.
And it's not 3 pounds, and it's brighter. And it's got excellent cooling. Anyway, so we'll see. Let's talk about AYANEO because they have done.
They have launched a real unit here.
They have done the unthinkable, if you ask me, which is they are launching a PC handheld that, if you spec it all the way up, you can spend, and I'm not kidding, this is not a bit, this is an actual segment of the show, the maximum configuration will cost you more, emphasis on more, than $4,000. The high-end configuration of the AYANEO Next 2 with Strix Halo will cost you at retail $42.99.
Yes.
$4,300.
And it's way over spec for gaming. I mean, that's 128 gigabytes of RAM, for
Yes.
instance.
We are looking, 9-inch OLED display, which I gotta say, super nice. 9-inch OLED, very, very nice. 116 watt-hour battery, which is, I believe, John, if I'm not mistaken, this is too much for airlines, right?
Yeah.
Technically
Yeah, you
speaking,
can't take this on a plane.
you cannot take this on a plane.
Gotta leave it at home.
There's going to be two versions, the entry level, the Ryzen AI Max 385. This is the new one, the new entry level Strix Halo chipset.
Right.
And there's going to be the high end, which is the usual Ryzen 395 with up to 128 gigs of RAM. There's an Indiegogo campaign. It's going to launch, in theory, in June 2026. It's heavy. It's powerful. It's probably overkill for a handheld. And I need to know who's gonna buy the high-end configuration of this device.
Someone who's using it as a PC as well as a handheld, I think. Yeah, that's
Maybe
hooking
even
it up
primarily as a PC.
But what?
But why? Who knows why? But I mean, with those specs,
Get a laptop.
it's a complete waste if you don't hook that up to an external display and keyboard at that size. It just for perspective, this thing weighs more than a MacBook Air.
Over 3 pounds.
3.14 pounds. That is huge. I mean, there's some other things here. It's more than twice the weight of the Steam Deck OLED. All
Comfy.
right.
Yep. Okay.
And it's 60% larger than the footprint of a Switch 2 with the Joy-Cons connected to it. 60% bigger than that.
I legitimately can't think of a good reason to buy this.
I can't.
Like
either.
I'm going out on a limb here. I'm trying to figure out like the ideal customer for this device at any spec. Early bird, entry level, high end. I would point you at probably 5 or 6 different handhelds before I recommended this one.
At this point, if you really want to be fancy, get the Lenovo Legion Go 2, right?
Yeah. Right,
And
that is the high-end one that I would recommend to people. Yeah,
and that's still gonna be like what, $2,000 almost, which is very expensive for a handheld.
But it's half of this high-end one. I mean, and look, the early bird here is only saving you a couple $100, which if you're in the price range of $3,000-$4,000, that's not like a great deal, to be honest.
and then also think about the other Strix Halo handhelds that we know about, right? Like consider the GPD Win 5, which has its battery mounted externally connected via a wire because it would be too hot to hold that whole thing if it was one unit together.
Yeah.
Now consider the fact that this is one unit that's all put together. I have like major concerns about this thing on top of the fact that it's AYANEO, which has been dropping the ball over and over and over and over again recently, and also claiming that they're not launching new products.
My new wildcard prediction for 2026 is that eventually AYANEO is gonna get acquired. I think
by who, like Asus or something?
Yeah. I could see Asus. I could see
Lenovo, maybe even.
Maybe even Lenovo, or I'm thinking of somebody else.
MSI maybe?
Thank you, MSI.
Oh, yeah. MSI is a good
that makes
pick,
sense,
actually.
Because they make a lot of really out there stuff.
Yeah,
with
that's
dragons
exactly what
on
I was
it
thinking.
I think specifically if you were the thing about AYANEO that always is like legitimately interesting to me is their build quality and their industrial design. I really love the look of all their products.
Same.
But they always are at price points that I think are unattainable to people. And if you were to merge with a company that has better parts sourcing, hypothetically, that could be the best of both worlds. You would marry those two ideas together. But yeah, that'd be nice. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
Still, I just don't understand what these specs are doing in a handheld for playing games.
No, me neither. Especially if, like as you mentioned, like it only makes sense if you want to hook it up to an external display. But then if you need to hook it up to an external display, why get a handheld? You know.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Conquer Fit, which is not the Conquer Pocket Fit, the Conquer Fit is a different one.
It's the bigger one, yeah.
This is also the Ryzen AI for $1,000. This has launched and it's shipping in April. So different value proposition, right? From the next two. First of all, it's the Conquer brand. So it is. I mean, it's gonna be ranging between $1,000 and $1,200, which is still like 1/3 of the next two, and it's gonna be on the lower end Ryzen AI 9 configuration. So you got the what are they called, the 370 and the 470. I actually think this makes a little bit more sense. You're still getting a powerful Windows handheld, but at least you're not spending $3,000. I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
Yeah. I've made this comparison a lot, but it reminds me so much of Leica in the camera space, where like if you wanted to get the Leica camera, like the one that they promote, the one that everybody like Jason Momoa has and all the famous people who shoot with Leica have, that one is starting at around $9,000, and they have an entry level camera.
Did you
that
say
you can
Jason
buy.
Momoa?
Yeah, Jason Momoa is a Leica
Really?
ambassador. Oh yeah, he's a big Leica head.
Okay.
But if you wanted to buy Leica's entry-level camera, they have this line called the Q series where you can't switch the lenses. It has like the lens affixed to it. Those start at $6,000. And that's how I feel about AYANEO being like, we have a $5,000 handheld here, but we also have this entry-level budget line that starts at $1,000.
Yeah.
Well, it's technically a budget line compared
It's
to the
budget
other.
if you're comparing it against the highest price you can come up with.
Yeah. If you sell something for $1 million, you can say, I also have the budget version. It's $100,000.
It's $100,000.
It's only 10% of the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get to the TrimUI news, this company, I have never really paid attention. I know that we mentioned it a couple of times. Mangmi.
Oh, yeah.
So the Mangmi Pocket Max.
Yeah.
This is a new Android-based handheld that has a modular design.
Uses magnets.
Huh.
It's perfect for you, TG.
So 7-inch 1080p screen, 144 hertz AMOLED display, Snapdragon 865. So this is the same as the Retroid Pocket 5 from last year.
Right.
Which means it's going to be not good, not great for GameCube and PS2 emulation, especially when you want to upscale. Modular design that let you replace the D-pad and the action buttons with magnets. Looks pretty nice, I would say.
I think it's another example of what we saw with MagicX.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I keep confusing Mangmi and MagicX. Those are two different companies.
They are.
I'm actually quite intrigued by this one, I should say. I mean, I'm intrigued by anything modular. That's just me.
Looks like it has a great display. The specs on the display are really nice.
Pretty nice specs. Early bird pricing of $200 for until today, as we're recording this on Thursday.
Yeah, so by the time you hear this, it'll be
sorry,
$40 more.
$40, yeah, exactly.
450 grams. It's gonna go up to 240 and 8,000 milliampere hour battery, 27 watt charging. So not super fast charging, but also not terrible.
Yeah.
Hall effect sticks. I think this looks pretty good, especially for not high-end emulation, but also for streaming. I think this is an interesting streaming device from Mangmi, and I'm particularly intrigued by the modular attachments. Interesting. I may think about this actually.
I think it's an interesting one at this price. I mean, I think it's got a nice combination of specs for this price. It's it's a slower device, but older chipset, but it's got a nice screen, and I think the modularity of it is kind of a nice differentiator, really.
I think now you mentioned that idea, John, of this is what's happening at the low end, and now I cannot unsee that theory.
You see it everywhere now.
I see it everywhere now. I think you're right. Because what's happening at the high end now, we're seeing all these devices in the $0 to $200 range. We couldn't have predicted that last year for sure.
Let me know when you find the one that's $0.
Well,
in the 0 to 200
zero is when you find it or you steal one. So
or when you go to a friend's house and they take you to their basement and they give you
a handheld.
Yeah.
See,
if you have really good friends like one of us here, You're just gonna get handhelds from your friends. Let's talk about TrimUI. We need to talk about TrimUI. Brendon, where do you want to start?
Yeah. So a couple days ago, as of the time of this recording, there was a render that leaked on, I think, Baidu, which is basically like a Chinese version of Reddit, and then made its way to Reddit, which is a folding device by TrimUI, which looks more, I would say, hot doggy than hamburgery, if that makes sense. Closer to a Samsung Galaxy Fold than a Flip, maybe is a better way of putting it. It is a beautiful looking device. Even you could tell just by the renders, like the industrial design here is really sleek.
Yes.
TrimUI in general, I think, has really great design sensibilities already. It just looks like a really interesting device. So it has all the classic hits from a TrimUI device. It has like the physical switch, which is nice. It has also 2 analog sticks in this kind of like recessed divot, which is a new idea. Like I've never seen we're going to take everything and just kind of like shove it down even further into the chassis of the bottom part of the thing.
To protect the screen, I assume, right?
Yeah, it's to protect the screen and protect the button. Yeah, it just protects everything. And then it has 4 buttons along the top of it. It looks honestly kind of like a dream in some ways. And I think the thing that really sold it to me was I saw the next day somebody posted basically just like a comparison based on what the specs were here. They posted a comparison showing it alongside things like the Ein Thor and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and it's much, much, much smaller. So imagine if you had something like the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, but even smaller than an iPhone when shut. That's an interesting device. That very quickly, I think, to me becomes a go-to everyday carry handheld if they're able to like nail the price to performance ratio, which I imagine they would, because the 2 versions of this that can happen are, number one, it has the internals of the TrimUI brick, which are decent. They're not bad. But because there's a 16:9 screen on this thing, I would assume it'll probably have the internals of the TrimUI Smart Pro and maybe even the Smart Pro Plus that they just released, which, that is, for all intents and purposes, the PSP that I was dreaming of at the end of last year. So if you can get that kind of performance in a thing that has this form factor, I think that's a brilliant device, which I'm really excited about. When will this come out? Who knows? All we really know about it is what it looks like, and that has a 4.7-inch screen. But it's an exciting prospect. Followed up immediately this morning, like as I was reading through our notes and getting caught up on all this stuff, another leaked handheld from TrimUI, which is basically the TrimUI brick, but as a Game Boy Advance SP style foldable as well. So it seems like TrimUI is going after both form factors simultaneously, and I would assume that the one that leaked yesterday is the TrimUI Smart Pro, but as a foldable, and then this one will be the TrimUI brick, but as a foldable.
Yeah, they're going for this 1-2 punch of 2 foldables, and I cannot decide which one I'm more excited about. And that's not to mention that they're also doing the Brick Pro still with the sticks, right?
Right.
That we mentioned a few weeks ago. So they have potentially these 3 devices coming out. And realistically, I think I'm going to get both of these, especially if Brendon's prediction of the SP is going to be the brick in a clamshell, and the other one is going to be the Smart Pro or the Smart Pro S in a clamshell. I don't know. There's something about TrimUI, especially for the bigger clamshell, that appeals to me more than, for example, the Retroid Pocket Flip, which I didn't love. I liked it, but I didn't love it. This is the company for me to watch right now. What TrimUI is doing.
They're what people thought Miu was.
Yes.
Right. They know their audience super well. And if these are what we think they are, I think that it's a really great 1-2 punch.
Yeah. And they are, what I like about them is that they are deliberate. Like they don't do a lot of things. They do a few things, and usually they do them really, really nicely.
Right.
I've been hovering on the Smart Pro S page for a few days at this point, and I don't know. Have you seen the yellow one?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I always am constantly thinking about it as well, and I'm only holding off now because of the possibility of
Same.
this thing.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This will be something that we will talk about again, I think, over the next couple of weeks.
I will say the one that I'm most confused by actually is the Brick Pro, like the brick with the sticks on it.
Mm-hmm.
I am confused about. That's a device that I'm not sure.
It's gotta have a performance bump. Otherwise, why put in
You
the
would hope.
sticks?
Yeah, I feel like every one of these manufacturers at some point decides that their vertical handheld has to have a stick on it. I mean, it seems like everybody does
Seems
these.
like it.
I mean, it's fine, I guess. I mean, especially if you put a better chipset in there, that kind of dictates that you'll want to have sticks on it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do either of you have a brick hammer?
no.
I don't. Do you?
No.
Mm.
People love it though. People
Yeah.
love the brick hammer. And I keep thinking also, now that I have Rockbox on there and I could use it as an iPod, like,
Oh, it'd be good for that.
wouldn't that be sick?
Yeah, that would be really
A
sick.
metal TrimUI brick.
Brendan,
used
don't
as
do
an
this. We're
iPod.
going to end up buying 3 TrimUI handhelds in the next 6 months.
I was just taking a look at photos of the
hammer?
TrimUI hammer on Reddit.
It looks good.
It does look really nice.
It's a beautiful device.
Before we move on to MPC XL, I titled this segment. I'm sorry, John. That was
I
me
know.
in the document. The section is called "Whatever This Is."
Yeah, well, we have to have a little bit of iPhone and Android gaming
That it is
on the show once in a
iPhone
while.
gaming. Okay.
And that's kind of my specialty. I'm always holding out hope for something. And we have a 13-year-old game coming to both platforms. The original Tomb Raider.
Hallelujah.
The original Tomb Raider with
time.
all the DLC, Tichi, all the
Yay,
DLC
Nice.
for the low price of $20. Okay,
Sure, why not?
I
It's not,
put
it's
it
not
in,
a bad price, I'll say.
It's
At
not,
least it's
it's
not
not.
50 or 60.
right. And look, I put it in here because it was the port was done by Feral Interactive in the UK, and they do an excellent job. They've done a lot of games. This is kind of their specialty as a studio, is taking these games that have been out for a while and porting them to either Apple platforms or in this case Android too. And I think in the past they've always done a really good job with them. So I don't know. It just struck me as a game that might be fun to play with an MCon. That's all.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the MCon. I remember mine.
You still don't have an email about that?
Nope.
Oh my God.
This is now a recurring segment at the end of each episode.
I'll
I
keep
keep-
bringing up iPhone gaming until you get your MCon, and then we'll stop talking.
You know what's
about it.
wild? My
Brendon is
Kickstarter.
now 3.
Brendan
yeah,
has
I-
a stack of them.
Yeah, I actually went to Italy and I stole yours off the truck. My Kickstarter exclusive one is like bent now. I don't know if this will show up on camera. Actually, you can kind of see it there. You see like
Kinda.
A
Yeah.
little
there's like a
bit.
gap here
Yeah.
where there should not be a gap. I don't know what happened. Like, is
Huh.
it just from putting it in my pocket and then it just started like?
It's on the corner.
Yeah, I have no idea how or why that happened, but I don't know.
Before we wrap up, I thought I'd start a little bit of a new tradition.
What's that?
Oh, great.
What are you guys playing on handhelds this week?
Oh, that's a good question.
Dragon
I'll talk
Quest
about
7 for me.
Dragon Quest 7
Yeah.
reimagined or the original.
Reimagined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I playing on handheld recently? I'm still playing a lot of Mario Kart DS because it's a great game for testing. And I'm also playing Mario Golf Advanced Tour and Mario Tennis Advanced something, whatever that one is called. I always forget the name of that one. But I'm playing those right now.
How about you, John?
Well, because of what we're going to be talking about during XL, I've been playing Professor Layton on the MagicX 040 a little bit,
Okay.
as well as the update to Animal Crossing on my Switch.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And in MPC XL, I guess John is going to talk about the MagicX Zero, and Brendon is going to. I don't know. Brendon prepared something else. I'm pretty sure.
The Anbernic RG DS, baby.
We're doing
So it's all
both
gonna.
the
It's
DSXL.
white
it's gonna
dual
be a
screens.
DSXL episode. You can find that on Patreon for $5 a month. We really appreciate your support. And you can find you can listen to this show, but you can also watch this show. If you listen, there's a video version.
There is.
You can see Brendon doing things on camera. And otherwise, you can find the show on Blue Sky and Mastodon. You can send us questions there. You can find us on Discord and just about all the other places. Did I miss something, John?
You missed nothing.
Perfect.
Brendon's over there hugging his big bag of handhelds.
My big bag of handhelds.
Beautiful. I love it. We'll see you next week. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.